I need your thoughts on The Bear Episode 1 System all day.
Heard. Spoilers ahead, chef.
Let it rip.
If you watch a show and don't immediately trade memes and giggles with your best Judy, did you really have a few viewing experience?
Of course not. When the credits roll, that's our signal to debrief.
I'm Jose Miguel.
And I'm Leslie.
And we've been friends since we were kids.
And we realize some shows are just too good not to gab about. This is Heated Reverence.
All right, the order is in. Let's get the IMDb description out on the table.
Carmy attempts to retrain the employees of the original Beef of Chicagoland, but is faced with resistance. In need of a backup, brings on a talented young chef to help. All right, so since this is your first time watching The Bear, give me your overall vibe after watching the first episode.
There's so many things to talk about. I think the first thing that kind of really stood out to me and I found to be really interesting was like the episode is called System, but where are the systems?
Yo, 25 pounds?
25? No, I ordered 200.
Paid for 25.
And I think the other thing that kind of like stood out to me about the episode, there's an obsession of being in control that's involved with Carmy, in particular with like he's struggling with internal demons. And there just seems to be so many challenges that everyone is facing in this episode, but also the fact that like we know that Carmy is our main character, he's on the struggle bus. So that stood out to me a lot. And then I can't stop without saying this. Richie seems to be a problem child.
Just taking myself back to where I was when I watched it the first time, I pretty much had similar reactions to you. But overall, the show was really intriguing to me. I had a weird kind of moment where I'm like, okay, we're in Chicago, kind of these characters are rough around the edges, and I'm like, to your point about like Richie rubbed me wrong because the only other time that I've ever seen that actor was when he was in the HBO series Girls. And he played a douche, but a very different type of douche, but still douchey. And so I was predisposed to not like him already. So I really think that your experience so far is parallel to where I've been. In terms of the systems, I recognize what the systems are. I just don't think that either one of them is working appropriately for either camp.
It is like Jimmy, Hot Mess Express. I didn't know what I was watching when I like watched this episode and was just like, why are there 20 people in a room that's meant for 5? Like, there's so many things that stood out to me as like, this is not organized chaos. It's one thing to have chaos. It's another thing to have organized chaos. And it's another thing to have like nothing but a shit show and then a pristine work environment, which doesn't really exist.
What had me at hello was just like how the vibe was like all these characters, the supporting characters felt really flushed out. Like there was multiple conversations happening at the same time that gave you like really deep insight into like who these people were. Like, and it just reminded me of like the working class environment that we grew up in Queens, because like the fact that we have Ibram, who is an immigrant, who's learning how to talk shit in English, and Marcus, who is being insulted by Ibram when he says, like, you're my favorite bitch. Marcus is like, yeah, that's how you do it. That's right. Like, he's proud of him for talking shit. So it's like, I recognize these personalities. And so that made me feel like a little bit of comfort in this chaotic environment that we're in.
I'm watching, so I'm not seeing that yet. I'm just really wanting to like give it its space and like absorb it and trying to like process it all. But this left me feeling like, what the hell is wrong with this play? So after his brother dies, Carmy Brazato returns to Chicago to run the family sandwich shop. He finds the business buried in debt and the kitchen in chaos. To fix it, he hires Sydney, a talented young chef.
Hi, hello.
Hi.
I'm Sydney.
But the rest of the staff resist their ways of doing things.
While the pressure builds, Marcus gets inspired by professional pastry standards and a rowdy crowd gathers for a video game tournament. Things spiral out of control until Richie fires a gun into the air to settle the gamers. Even though Richie gets Carmy out of a jam at that moment, his clash with Carmy is far from over. All right, so what stood out to you? What do you want to highlight?
I mean, there's so much shit going on. These people have like trauma. They're undergoing so many different things that I'm sure they're bringing into the workplace, but like is impacting their lives. God even knows. Like there needs to be structure. There's a lack of control and how do you conduct yourself in the workplace. And it just seems like, yeah, I get that many mom and pop restaurants may not have like a structured like hierarchy or even so, how do you respect each other in the workplace? But it just seems like they're gonna kill each other.
Yeah, there's a lack of professional standards in that
Yes.
in that setting,
Yes,
yeah.
for
Yeah,
sure. How about you?
definitely.
What was your reaction to this
So what
episode?
really stood out to me was when after Richie, like, fires the gun, like, he fires the gun to, like, get control of the crowd, to, like, wake them up, alert them for, like, attention, right? And he gives this whole speech. Like, he wasn't like, "You MFers, I'm going," like, he wasn't threatening to hurt them, but he was like, "This is how it's gonna run here. This is how we're gonna do things from now on." And he starts, like, breaking things down, and it was just, like, a mind fuck for me to, like, hear him be so abrasive, aggressive, and at the same time be like, "But you're gonna recycle. But you right there in the crowd, fuck you." You know, like, it's like, what's going on? Pick a struggle, Richie. Like,
So you cocks are gonna clean up after yourselves, and you're gonna goddamn recycle.
I don't know what this man is on. They're so it's just like, what the fuck?
it was wild. And the whole thing was like bizarre to me in terms of like helping me get a sense of where this is going, like what exactly their dynamics between Richie and Carmi are. When Carmi asked him for help controlling him, and he was just like, kind of like, no, like almost big brother energy, like, or my father kind of energy. Like, I'm gonna make you sweat it out, make you think that you have to learn this lesson the hard way because you didn't listen to what I said in the first place. And then make you sweat it out that you're on your own. And when Carmi goes out there and he's in over his head, out of nowhere, Richie like steps up to like get things under control. But it was like, why'd you have to play games about it? Why couldn't you just be like, have his back from the beginning? Like, he didn't have to take all those sucker punches from the crowd.
I mean, it is the definition of passive aggressive because it really like just demonstrates how Richie wants to be in control until like he doesn't want to be in control, but he wants to tell you how he's going to be in control on his terms and only come out when you really need him to come out, but not come out because you want him to come out.
That whole thing that he did when he was talking about the gravy stays the same. Like, like, I'll show you.
I'm pretty sure many Italians, depending on where you're from, call it sauce and not gravy. But that's for a whole different conversation.
So the corner moment.
So, kind of where I kicked off before from the recap, where do I begin? I mean, I felt like by the end of this episode, all I wanted to do was scream at the TV. And I'm not one to scream at TV. Like I know people scream at televisions when they're like watching sports. And I've done that. I'm guilty of doing it. But I had such a hard time like trying to figure out the symbolism between Carmen and the bear.
I know.
The inner voice that was intended to be calm, but then I realized that the bear was his inner saboteur and his inner psyche, which is like the thing that he hasn't figured out how to control yet based on what's presented in front of him. He's clearly like, oh shit, I'm in this shit show of a hole. And these are the people that I have to frigging figure out how to train them. I don't know. There was so many things. I'm like,
So to your point, when you say that, like, you automatically tuned into like that the bear is Carmi. At first, I wasn't sure about like what exactly that opening sequence was about. I thought like he was like the circus tamer and like he has to tame everybody else and all of them are bears. Like, I wasn't sure where to go with it. And it wasn't until like one of my many rewatches that I focused in on. There's this one part where he is in I think his office or the bathroom, and the camera hones in on a drawing of the building of the restaurant and you see a bear within the restaurant and like there's like bars. And I'm like, oh, so Carmy is the trapped bear. He's he's trapped in that restaurant. So that's when it clicks for me. So the fact that you always say like you're not good with picking up on details, kudos to you because you picked up on that. It took me a while, a few rewatches before I was like, oh, okay, it's definitely Carmy.
He was the only one there when it showed up in the opening sequence of it. And then to kind of see how it ended, I felt like, oh, he is the bear. Like, that's all him. Just see it unravel and like real time, I'm just like, gosh, I don't even know where to begin. So it's the only way that I can make sense of like, why is this bear here and what is going on? And I'm like, there's clearly a connection with just him and what it is. And I mean, who knows? Maybe there's more clearness as to what happens as we go through the season.
So my corner moment was towards the end where Marcus, who was on a journey this entire episode, he went from being really resistant to Carmy's feedback, input, help, don't tell me how to do my job, all of that, to by the end, like kind of respecting him and the knowledge base that Carmy is bringing to the team. And like at the very end, when Carmy is at his lowest and is right about to be like tail between his legs, making that sauce, making the spaghetti that Richie was hounding him about all episode long.
Get your ass back in there and you make that fucking spaghetti.
Marcus comes in and calls Carmy chef. And it was just like, that was the boost, the morale that Carmy needed to be like, no, I'm going to do shit my way. Like,
Hey, grab me a fresh parm brie.
All right, chef.
I got this. And like, he throws the can away, basically to let us know, like, there was some progress made, but we're a long ways away. But it really stood out to me because when you come into like a new work environment, you need to like get the buy-in from the team, and just getting it from one person is enough to like, okay, I could see this course through, because end of the day, one of them bought into it. So I think that really stood out to me. All right, you ready for the walk-in?
Let's do it.
Who do you got?
So for me, it really came down that Carmy and Richie both needed to be in the walk-in. But when I think about Richie, I just want to lock him in the walk-in and pretend the door can't open anymore. He's just a douchebag and annoys the hell out of me. There's just no other way to put it. I don't know why he's here. Be gone. Be gone.
Basically, what you're saying is that they're going to be stuck inside the walk-in like Thunderdome style until they resolve their issues. Because we saw them in the walk-in together. I don't think that they were anything got resolved from that.
Nothing got resolved. I feel like Carmen needs to kind of unpack shit that's not specifically connected to Richie. But I also feel like Richie just needs to permanently be locked away until like he's ready to behave like an actual adult and stop being an asshole. Carmen is just like, let's just say a 15-minute timeout, maybe 30 minutes because he needs to really cool off. Richie just needs to stay there and wrap himself up with some, potato bags or something because the fucker just needs to be locked in there.
The way that they argue with each other, like these people are people who really know each other because they know what to say to piss each other off. Like the fact that Richie was so brazen, and then all Carmy had to say was, why didn't he leave the restaurant to you? And that just completely like his whole like boisterous self that Richie was.
Shut it down, bitch.
Yeah, shut it down.
Yeah.
For me, my nominee is Carmy. And the reason for it, why I'm singling him out, was because all episode long, he was asking for his knife. He was cutting himself because he was using a poor substitute of knife, and then during that scene when they're in the kitchen and he looks down and he sees that the knife is on the floor, it says something about me that I'm like thinking like when he sees that, I'm like, oh shit, he's going to flip the fuck out. But no, what stood out to me was that like he looked at the religious thing that was in that kitchen. He like looked up to it and then he got a flash to the body in the morgue, right? And we heard in this episode when he was talking to Fax, like he didn't go to the funeral. So maybe just him imagining what his brother's body in the morgue look like. But it was just the fact that like knife, religious, and then image of his brother flashed before. I'm like, oh man, he needs help. He needs intensive help that he's repressing, and he's using this restaurant to not deal with all of that. So yeah, he's my walk-in nominee.
Mm.
All right, what do you got for your most relatable moment?
I mean, you use the imagery of the religious figure and like that flashback, but for me, it was his dream. And seeing how all of his feelings connected and that feeling of being disappointed and the feeling of failure and the feeling of wanting to achieve success, but compounding that with the loss of his brother and then coming to work at his brother's restaurant while also being a professionally trained chef that worked at a Michelin star restaurant. And number one, you're not in that Michelin star level restaurant anymore. Number two, you're just feeling like your whole world is kind of like disappeared in front of you that you worked so hard to build. And now you're here, like, why? You're just questioning everything about yourself. So I feel like all of these things are just connected to each other. And to your point, like that whole last piece, it's important and pivotal, but like I'm sure we'll really uncover more about how these things are all connected. Because why would we be seeing them in the first episode and how much actually went into this first episode? Like it was a lot for a short episode. So you're trying to process, like, again, it's like, what the fuck am I looking at? And you're trying to piece everything together. So there was a lot to unpack.
Yeah, I mean, just like with Heated Rivalry, where we had like those time jumps, and it was like we have to keep track of like what's happening
The
where.
years.
Yeah. So this is similar, but it's not even because this is all in the course before that restaurant even opens. It's pre-shift, but so many different things go in before that restaurant even opens that it's just like one potential emergency chaotic moment
So
after another.
chaotic.
Yeah.
I've never worked in a restaurant that opens like almost 8 hours prior to the restaurant opening. Like I could see 4 hours maybe, depending on the amount of prep work you have. But these people, like they've been there for days before the restaurant opens.
They've been through a whole journey. My most relatable moment was Sydney, pobrecita Sydney, overhearing Richie and Carmi arguing in the walk-in.
Don't go messing with their heads and ordering different mayonnaise and hiring new fucking bras without talking to me first.
She's in the kitchen and she could overhear them arguing about her very existence in that restaurant. Like, fuck, man. Like, you've ever gone into like a new job and you're like so eager to make a good impression and you're going in there with the best of intentions because you feel like you could contribute something to the team, and then only to find out that the staff that's there is resistant to you being there, that the person who is like has the buy-in from the rest of the team there, Richie is their ringleader, and he doesn't believe that she should even be there. He's pissed that Sydney was hired without his consultation. So like, I just really felt for her in that moment. Like, she had no idea that she was walking into such a shit show. She just really seemed to have earnest intentions. And so, yeah, my heart goes out to her.
She's like my fave because I feel like out of all of them there, she's the only one that seems to have any like common sense to this is a problem. Like things here are just utter chaos. And yeah, there's nothing worse than like you starting a new job and being like, you don't even know me and you're already questioning my integrity, my work ethic, and my like just me as a person. So it does suck.
It's perfect because we're getting to see the whole dynamic from her lens. Like everybody there has experienced a loss. Their boss has passed away. So like she is the outsider, in the story, but also she doesn't have the shared history as everyone else. So like it's us kind of also experiencing everyone else through her. So stay tuned.
I was going to say, you have way too much insight as to how this is going to, you're like cluing me into things. So I'm like, wait, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, stay tuned.
On that note, what are you rating it on our Michelin standard scale?
I'm going to say a 0, but I'm going to preface with this. The scale is very questionable. And it's questionable because here's the thing. It's the first episode. And I feel like I can't say it's a total disaster, but it's also not like, when you look at number one, it's not high quality. And so all the while, it's like, I don't want to shut it down. I want to like know what happens next. So I'm like lost in the mix of like, where do I give it? Do I just give a flat out 0? So I'm just saying that I'm very curious to see where this journey goes, and I'm here for it.
Okay. So just so if I could speak my truth.
Do it. Give it up, sister.
All right. The Michelin standard, it is a like hard scale. It is very rigid, but also it's reflective of like the Michelin standard in real life, because like you have to jump through a whole bunch of hoops for a restaurant to even be considered to be reviewed for a Michelin star. So that's why it's kind of rigid. I don't agree with you. I give it 1 star. I thought it was high quality, worth a stop. It definitely made me want to hit the next button to see the next episode. But the reason why it has such a rigid kind of like 0 stars to 1 star, and like that's how we're going from total disaster to high quality, worth a stop, it was because it is so difficult to go from 0 to 1 in real life, the Michelin standard. And you had the opportunity to object before we started doing this, and you said whatever.
No, wait. Here's the thing. Like, to your point, very valid. Your truth is your truth. I think for me as a first-time watcher, it's a very different observation. And so I wanted to find a fair sliding scale that fit in. I'm not trying to give it like a 0.5. We did that with Heated Rivalry. Let's not do it here. Let's stick to the numbers as they're ranked. But at the same time, my observation made it hard to like, I'm not questioning the scale. I'm questioning really more of like, how do I even rank this shit? Like, to be fair with it, So, heard, Jeff. Heard.
Okay, well, that's our service.
Heard. We'll be back next time to discuss episode 2, Hands. Heated Reverence is hosted by Jose Miguel Longo and Leslie Obando.
If you enjoyed obsessing with us, hit the like button, and more importantly, follow the show or subscribe so you're invited to every hang session.
Tell us your own heat and heart score or the exact second a scene ruined your brain on Instagram and TikTok at Heated Reverence. You can also catch the full video version of the show on our YouTube channel.
And for long-form thoughts that need more than a caption, hit us at heatedreverence@gmail.com. We'll see you next week.